Our world was once dominated by dinosaurs. These magnificent creatures roamed the earth, walking where we walk today, drinking the same water, breathing the same air, and fighting on the same battlefields. This is the story of the day their world ended, the last day of the dinosaurs. Earth, 65 million years ago, was a warmer place than it is today. Along the west coast of what is now British Columbia, towering mountains overlooked a lush, forested valley. This region was the domain of some of the most incredible creatures to ever exist. The Quetzalcoatlus, weighing more than 160 kilograms, and with a wingspan of 12 meters, was the largest flying creature of all time. A kilometer down, the forest floor was home to the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex. It will take a tiny hatchling 18 years to become the age's most fearsome predator, but for now, the young T-Rex is just a few centimeters tall, not very scary, and completely exposed. However, it is not entirely unprotected. The father, a fully grown T-Rex, is on the hunt. His acute sense of smell helps him sniff out prey from great distances, and it also serves him well as a parent. He knows when something is wrong. Quetzalcoatlus metabolism demands that it eats regularly. Empowering the streamlined body means finding rich sources of protein, like a 1.5 kilogram baby T-Rex. Quetzalcoatlus' huge wings are perfectly adapted for long-distance gliding, but its sheer size makes it hard to lift off when it's backed into a corner. It's lucky this time. Of the entire clutch of T-Rex eggs, only one chick survives. If it grows up, it will reach 5 meters tall and weigh more than 7 tons. But surviving to adulthood, even for Tyrannosaurus rex, isn't written in stone, because a storm is coming, born of events that took place long before. This is the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, 320 million kilometers away. Billions of rocks hurtle through space in the same direction, traffic on a freeway, all except this one, which is moving diagonally on a completely different course. It's like a 65-kilometer wide semi suddenly slicing across the highway. But this truck is going 35,000 kilometers an hour. The two asteroids shatter into millions of fragments, but this fragment, over 10 kilometers across, has a special destiny. It's a rock poised to change history because it's heading for the 5th largest planet in the solar system, the only planet known to harbor life, planet Earth. Meanwhile, the planet's reptilian lords live, completely unaware of what's heading their way. Triceratops are among the most widespread dinosaurs in what's now Canada. They're herbivores, but that doesn't mean they're wallflowers. Male Triceratops take their mating rights very seriously, and at up to 6 tons each, a face-off can be fatal. This time, intimidation does the trick, but there's another enemy waiting in the wings. He's not after mating rights. The Triceratops is fast and well-armored enough to stand a chance against a T-Rex, but not against 2 of them hunting as a pair. One T-Rex could get behind the deadly horns and armored collar. There's enough meat here to feed them both for weeks, but they may not have the time to enjoy it. 400,000 kilometers up is the Earth's last hope of defense. The moon has saved the planet before. Its pockmarked surface bears the scars of countless collisions. This crater, known as Tycho, is more than 80 kilometers wide, created by a rock only half the size of the one that's on its way. But the moon is rarely in the right place at the right time. Nothing can stop the asteroid now. This cosmic missile isn't as alien as it seems. Like the Earth itself, it's made up largely of rock and water. In the cold vacuum of space, the water freezes into hard permafrost. But on the inside, there's a chemical cocktail composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, key ingredients for life. Asteroid fragments like this one may have provided the building blocks for life on Earth, life that evolved into dinosaurs. But what gives life can also take it away. In a sun-drenched valley teeming with life, the daily routine of most dinosaurs revolves around hunting and foraging under the warm sun, followed by slumber as darkness blankets the land. However, one particular inhabitant, the heavily armored Ankylosaurus, remains ever vigilant, keeping a watchful eye open for potential threats even as its fellow creatures succumb to sleep. Under the cover of night, a different world awakens. Small, unassuming creatures like Magma, a primitive mammal no larger than a possum, emerge from their hidden burrows. Like other mammals, Magma has adapted to a life lived in the shadows, avoiding the dinosaurs and venturing out only when the giants are safely asleep. Tonight, as Magma scurries about in search of tasty roots and insects, it becomes an unwitting witness to a celestial spectacle, a breathtaking meteor shower. Each fiery streak illuminating the night sky is a fragment of a colossal cosmic collision, burning up as it enters Earth's atmosphere. Unbeknownst to Magma, these dazzling meteors are merely the vanguard of a much larger, more ominous celestial body hurtling towards the planet. After an epic journey spanning 100 million years, a monstrous asteroid is nearing its final destination, a collision course with Earth. Far away, in what is now central Mexico, a vast herd of Alamosaurus traverses the plains in search of food. These awe-inspiring creatures are among the most recent dinosaur species to evolve, and even by dinosaur standards, their sheer size is staggering. As the last remaining sauropods, they hold the title of the largest animals to ever walk the Earth. Stretching an impressive 20 meters in length and towering 12 meters high, these behemoths can weigh up to 30 tons. Maintaining such immense bulk requires an equally immense appetite, with each individual consuming up to a ton of vegetation daily. A herd of this magnitude can strip a landscape bare in a matter of hours, leaving behind a barren wasteland. Due to their nomadic lifestyle, constantly on the move in pursuit of fresh grazing grounds, Alamosaurus females do not construct nests. Instead, they lay their eggs in small, scattered groups, hoping to increase the chances of at least some surviving to adulthood. Under normal circumstances, the odds are already stacked against these vulnerable eggs, with only 1 in 3,000 reaching maturity. However, the impending asteroid impact is about to drastically alter those odds, casting a dark shadow over the future of these magnificent creatures. Just 20 minutes away, 2 trillion tons of rock are racing right at them. The asteroid fragment's enormous mass is only part of the threat. The other part is velocity. As it gets closer to the planet, Earth's gravitational pull gets stronger, and the asteroid accelerates past 65,000 to 72,000 kilometers per hour. Mass times acceleration equals force. As the asteroid encounters the atmosphere, friction turns it into a fireball, swooping over the Atlantic and aimed at Mexico and the Alamosaurus. It takes just 4 minutes to cross the ocean. It crushes and superheats the air surrounding it, transforming gas and debris into white-hot plasma at 20,000 degrees. It's burning brighter than 1,000,000 suns. It takes just 5 seconds to flash through the atmosphere. Impact seems instantaneous, but hidden within the cataclysm are a series of discrete events, invisible to the naked eye, but key to understanding what follows. The asteroid's trajectory is shallow. It flies in at about a 30-degree angle to the surface. This means the full brunt of its destructive power will be thrown to the north of the impact point. Even before the fireball touches down, its sheer brightness in the sky is unattainable. 800 kilometers from ground zero, the light is so intense it makes the Alamosaurus flesh seem transparent and burns flash frames of their shadows onto the ground. The scorching light sears their eyeballs. They have no way of seeing what's headed their way, but they can feel an explosive force of 100 million megatons more powerful than all the nuclear weapons ever built. If the asteroid had crashed into the deep ocean, some of the force would have been absorbed. Instead, it hits the shallow waters of the Gulf of Mexico, which instantly vaporize. In a fraction of a second, the entire asteroid disintegrates into the planet. Earth and rock also vaporize and are hurled skyward at 15,000 kilometers an hour. Behind them, 120 million cubic kilometers of Earth's crust explode from the ground. 800 kilometers from the crash site, the air temperature now reaches over 300 degrees. Hot enough to boil away the water in the dinosaur's skin, which escapes in sudden bursts of steam. The fiery blasts suck every drop of moisture from the vegetation. Anything directly exposed to the blistering heat is simply broiled alive. Just 108 seconds after impact in the Gulf of Mexico, the bright streams of vaporized rock can be seen in prehistoric British Columbia. From their clifftop roost, a breeding pair of Quetzalcoatlus can see the glow of the fireball high above the horizon, 5,000 kilometers away. That's how big it is. Just 2 minutes have passed since the asteroid slammed into the Earth. The body count back near the crash site is immense. Surprisingly, there are survivors. Those lucky enough to be shielded by a mountain are spared the worst of the light and heat blasts, but 3 more waves of destruction are coming. On impact, boulders the size of buildings blasted into the air at supersonic speeds, but what goes up must come down. Hundreds of surviving Alamosaurus are bombarded from above. A second wave hits from below, an earthquake measuring 11.1 on the Richter scale. Nearly 60 times more powerful than any earthquake humans have experienced. The third wave is the blast pulse wave, radiating outward in a perfect circle, packing a force that rips through air faster than the speed of sound, stripping skin from flesh, flinging 30-ton dinosaurs into the air like so many ragdolls. Just 5 minutes have passed since impact, and 3 waves of destruction have decimated an entire species. Many other species of dinosaurs in the region share the Alamosaurus fate. Most of the eggs, too, have been destroyed. And yet, the Earth is a powerful protector. Some eggs buried in the cool ground have survived. New Alamosaurus life is growing. There is still hope, for now. Three days after the asteroid impact, Earth is engulfed in darkness. The sky remains covered by a thick layer of dust and smoke, blocking sunlight and plunging the planet into a prolonged period of darkness. The lack of sunlight disrupts photosynthesis, leading to a collapse of the food chain and making survival increasingly difficult for both herbivores and predators. The impact has also triggered a mega tsunami, a towering wall of water that sweeps across the land. The tsunami causes further destruction, inundating areas that were previously untouched by the impact's initial effects. The global climate continues to be disrupted, with fires, heat, and acid rain contributing to a harsh and unforgiving environment. Dinosaurs, like the Triceratops, search desperately for food and shelter in this hostile environment. The scarcity of resources and the ongoing environmental changes create a grim reality for these creatures. The impact's effects are felt across the planet, and survival becomes a daily struggle. The continuing effects of the impact, including acid rain and volcanic eruptions, create additional challenges. The acid rain damages ecosystems and disrupts the environment further, while the volcanic eruptions contribute to the global climate crisis. Dinosaurs and other life forms face a harsh reality as they attempt to navigate this new and perilous world. On the other side of the planet, a fireball rises 160 kilometers above ground zero. 70 billion tons of pulverized stone and earth fill the upper atmosphere with a cloud of microscopic dust and glass, spreading fast. This is the ejecta cloud. As the dust spreads at high altitude, trillions of tiny particles re-enter the atmosphere. The friction creates intense heat, an 800-degree dust cloud, heating up everything beneath it. From their clifftop perch in prehistoric British Columbia, the male and female Quetzalcoatlus have a clear view of the approaching cloud. Down in the valley, a thick ocean fog blocks out the sky, making it impossible to see the coming apocalypse. But the animals down here do get a warning, not from above, but from below. When the asteroid struck, most of the energy was deflected out or up. Only 1% of the force traveled down into the ground, but it's enough to ring the planet like a bell. Seismic waves radiate both across and through the Earth. 16 minutes and 40 seconds after impact, they reach British Columbia. In the valley, the ground shakes as the 11.1 earthquake ripples through. Triceratops panic up the side of the valley in a desperate attempt to escape the tremors and falling debris. Smaller animals take shelter underground. Meanwhile, the ejecta cloud approaches at 16,000 kilometers per hour, baking the Earth with unrelenting heat. Millions of volts of static electricity charge the cloud like a giant battery, creating a vast electrical storm. Superheated rocks shower the valley like burning hail. The Quetzalcoatlus flee the quake's devastation below, but there's no way to hide from a rain of fire. Only the valley floor can provide shelter, but they're too big to descend quickly. The male's tattered wings can no longer keep him aloft. If his mate doesn't find shelter, she'll be next. On the mountain slopes, a pair of Triceratops emerges above the cool sea mist. They're almost out of the quake-ravaged valley when the ejecta cloud arrives like a blowtorch. A dinosaur paradise just hours ago. North America is now a living hell, but the ejecta isn't finished yet, not by a long shot. Less than an hour since the asteroid impact, hundreds of species of dinosaurs lie devastated across the Western Hemisphere. The ejecta cloud continues to spread at high altitude, spanning the globe. The effects on the ground vary dramatically. 12,000 kilometers away in Asia, the cloud rolls in silently from the east. In Mongolia, temperatures on the ground tick upwards, a few degrees hotter every second. There's no audible warning, only mounting heat. As the air reaches 50 degrees Celsius, the only hope is shelter. At 70 degrees Celsius, survival is measured in minutes. Over 90 degrees Celsius, just seconds. 90 minutes after impact, the temperature on the ground in Mongolia peaks at 150 degrees Celsius. Not every dinosaur bakes alive. The microclimate of a cave can keep a handful of survivors cool enough to breathe, but it's a refuge that has to be shared, forcing an uneasy peace between sworn enemies, one that's already fraying at the edges. Back in prehistoric British Columbia, the dense fog still shields the valley from the intense heat above. In sheltered areas like this, small pockets of dinosaurs hang on. For the Triceratops here, the high temperatures and humidity force them to keep moving. For scavengers, there's no shortage of food, but most animals caught by the ejecta cloud aren't so lucky. The female Quetzalcoatlus is one of the few survivors of her species. The last thing these animals need is a new threat, but the after effects of impact are just getting started. Above the valley and across North America, the intense heat of the ejecta cloud has ignited fires, blazes so intense they generate their own winds. Down in the valley, the air pressure plummets, creating a vacuum that sucks in the flames. The dry vegetation goes up like a powder keg, building a wall of fire. The front of the fire burns hottest and fastest, moving across the valley floor at 15 kilometers an hour. T-Rex can run twice that speed, but it can't keep the pace up forever. The valley basin is now a firestorm, 1,000 degrees, hot enough to melt solid aluminum. The panicked animals run up the valley slopes, but fire goes faster uphill. Some lucky creatures escape below the flames, but large dinosaurs have no place to hide. The female Quetzalcoatlus struggles to take off, her wings still damaged from the falling ejecta. For the dinosaurs, time is running out. 2 hours after the asteroid impact, the entire planet is covered in dust and smoke. Fires rage across the western hemisphere. One of the few remaining Quetzalcoatlus, a flying pterosaur as big as a giraffe, struggles to get airborne. From above, what was once a lush valley is now an inferno. Animals that fly can escape the flames, but there are few places to land and almost nothing to eat. A food chain once rich enough to support giants now lacks its basic component plants. Across the continents, thousands of dinosaurs may be walking, but their species are already dead. To survive, any species needs to maintain a critical mass of population, fall below that threshold, and there's no way to climb back from certain extinction. The final nail in the coffin may take a while to develop, but it's no less deadly and no less final. The coup de grace for the dinosaurs comes from inside the planet. When a rock 10 kilometers across slams into the Earth at 72,000 kilometers per hour, it shoots 1 million megatons of energy straight into the ground. Seismic shock waves ripple through the planet. The aftershocks continue for months as tectonic plates shear and tear. Deep inside the planet, they trigger molten rock to force its way to the surface through newly formed fractures until it explodes from the Earth's crust in violent volcanic eruptions. The seismic waves awaken dormant volcanoes around the world, adding to the debris clouds of dust and toxic gases that already surround the globe. The shroud is already many kilometers deep, a thick blanket stopping light and warmth from reaching the Earth's surface. The planet plunges further into a nuclear winter. In the days and weeks that follow, the only growth to thrive is fungus, which lives off the rotting remains. Here in Mongolia, few signs of dinosaurs remain, and for the starving Coelophysis, the future looks bleak. It stays near the cave that has saved it twice in the past, the watering hole that once provided plenty, but the last Coelophysis doesn't fall victim to starvation. Bubbling to the surface is one of nature's most toxic gases, hydrogen sulfide, released from deep underground by volcanic activity. It collects invisibly in low-lying areas like the waterhole's natural basin. The gas paralyzes the lungs, making escape impossible, then kills by suffocation. What was once a refuge is transformed into a death trap. The last dinosaur in this part of Mongolia is dead. In Mexico, too, it's a graveyard. Just 800 kilometers from ground zero, it's been hit by wave after wave of devastation. There would seem to be little else that nature could throw at it. And yet, amidst all this destruction, beneath a thin layer of charred soil, a lone Alamosaurus egg survives. In what's now British Columbia, just a handful of dinosaurs patrol the gray wasteland. An Ankylosaurus searches the charred terrain for something to eat. 7 meters long and weighing 4 tons, this heavily armored herbivore is used to getting nearly 135 kilograms of food every day. All it can find now is a small bush, and even that won't come without a fight. Suddenly, hunger isn't their biggest problem.